How goes it all? Welcome back to Patterson Oak Properties. Hopefully you guys having a great and exceptional day. Don't forget Patterson Oak Properties. We wholesale real estate via tax sales, tax liens, and do the old-fashioned way, do text message blasts, cold calling, sending mailers out, all that great stuff in the Pennsylvania area, DC, Maryland, and Virginia area. So check us out and go from there. Links are in the description. So today it's going to be simple. We're going to be going over the 12 most affordable states to live in because, nowadays, the economy's changing. It's been changing. And I remember holding in-depth discussions on my other channel, Larry's Anything Goes LLC, about COVID being a game changer, and I'm not getting political nonsense in. I'm just talking about the economics and the numbers, meaning that more and more jobs were going to be, people are going to be working from home more. Artificial intelligence is increasing intensively. Cost of living has gone up tremendously. Inflation is kicking a lot of people in the butt, and, mortgages are insane. Interest rates are insane. Even though in certain markets, prices have gone down, but 2023 is deemed by all the economists and real estate professionals as one of the worst years to buy a home, for most working people, especially for a lot of investors, because investors look for deals. And but when it comes to people that are just looking to buy their dream home, well, it's all about, can you afford it? Will you end up, because of the interest rates, end up paying double or quadruple for the house? Some say yes, some say no, but I was reminded by MG, the mortgage guy, hey, one thing that you have to take into consideration is that when you get a mortgage, doesn't mean that you have to stay locked into that specific rate forever. I remember when I bought my first home that I'm currently in now, the company that I bought got the mortgage with, they sucked. The company that they sold my mortgage to was even worse. And then my mortgage just kept going up. It was getting to the point where it was darn upright ridiculous, to the point where I felt like I was paying a mortgage for a brand new home. But then, beautiful thing during the pandemic, full disclosure, when interest rates were cut very, very low, I refinanced my house and my mortgage went down tremendously. Even a buddy of mine who I work with, he was only in his house for 1 year, and he took advantage of the low interest rates, and he got his mortgage cut down to $700. So it doesn't mean, if you do buy a house now, if you really want to, if you got your heart set on it, I do agree with MG, the mortgage guy. There will be a time when interest rates will go down and you can refinance your house, and then your mortgage can go down. So some take it into consideration. But for the last 20 years, since 2002, time frame, a lot of people have been fleeing California. They've been fleeing New York, New Jersey area. They've been going south, and they've been going to the middle of America, and they've been going to the Midwest. Those are because, quote unquote, considered to be the most affordable parts of the United States of America. And then with the pandemic, it intensified. Okay, it really intensified. And especially with, and then let's just be realistic. California and New York, they have the most excessive taxes. California and New York, and I love California, but I'm not trying to crap on it, but these are states where it's just unaffordable for people to live anywhere within the state. I think like New York, it's not as bad, but like California, all the major metropolitan areas from San Diego, Los Angeles, the whole Bay Area, San Francisco, Oakland, and all the cities that are surrounding the Bay Area are deemed unaffordable for regular everyday working people. All right. And a lot of people have left and either gone way, way more inland out into towns that nobody even would ever hear about, or people just left the state altogether, going to Nevada, going to Arizona, going to Texas, going to Florida, going to Georgia. It's just one of those, it is what it is situation. And then a lot of other instances, people went to Oregon, people went to Washington State, and now people are leaving Oregon and leaving Washington State because, especially the Seattle area and Portland area, because they're deemed too expensive. Same thing with New York City, Newark, New Jersey, Philadelphia is getting that way, DC is getting that way. And most people don't believe this, but another 10 years, Baltimore, Maryland will be that way. So it's just what it is. But I've always said but now, even in the South, major cities like Dallas, Houston, Austin, Pretty soon, San Antonio are going to be deemed too expensive, even though the taxes aren't that as outrageous or egregious. But cost of living is the cost of living. It is like Florida is on its way to being the #1 gentrified state in the whole South because of the cost of living. They don't have an income state tax. They don't have outrageous taxes, but the cost of living is getting insane. So I'm going to basically just go over real quick of the cheapest, most quote unquote affordable states to live in, not cities, but states. Because if you even look at, like I said, if you look at a Raleigh and a Charlotte, North Carolina, that's getting expensive. Nashville, Tennessee, that city's getting expensive. Atlanta, and all the major cities in Florida, expensive. New Orleans, Louisiana, expensive. Pretty soon, Jackson and Biloxi, Mississippi, Birmingham, Alabama, I guarantee you. All right. But anyways, so the most 12 affordable states to live in right now is Mississippi, Oklahoma, Arkansas. Now, bear in mind, Arkansas and Oklahoma have always been considered flyover states, but they have their own major cities. But they are, if you just talk about a number standpoint, these are affordable states. Kansas, Missouri, Georgia. But when you think of Georgia, I'm not talking about Atlanta. So let's just keep that in mind. Alabama, New Mexico. New Mexico is one of the what is it, like Louisiana, New Mexico, and Mississippi are considered like the poorest states in the union. Tennessee, Indiana, Iowa, and Kentucky. So these are considered the most affordable states to live in. Now, if you think about it, majority of the states that I mentioned are not on the coastline. The states that I mentioned that are on the coastline that have actual beaches is Mississippi and Georgia and Alabama. But most of these states are inland states, and I wouldn't want to live in, nothing against Iowa, but I wouldn't want to live there. I would not want to live in Indiana or Kentucky. I got nothing against these places, but I'm more of I like to see palm trees and mountains kind of guy. So when it comes to affordable states, I'd rather be in Arizona or Nevada, but that's just me. But these are just things to take into consideration. And the main reason for Mississippi, so I'll go over the list. Mississippi cost of living index is 84.8, grocery costs 93 index 93.1, housing cost index 66.7, transportation costs 89.9. Oklahoma boils down to it, the cost of living index is 86.6, grocery cost index 94.1, housing cost 70.1, transportation costs index 91.3. Arkansas cost of living index 87.8, grocery cost list 90.7, and transportation cost is 86.1. Comes to Kansas, cost of living index is 87.9, grocery cost index 92.8, housing cost index 71.8, transportation cost index 94.8. Missouri, cost of living index 88.9, grocery cost index 97.6, housing cost index 71.6, transportation cost index 93.9. Georgia, cost of living index 89.4, grocery cost index 99.0, housing cost index 71.3, transportation cost index 91.3. Alabama, cost of living index 89.4, grocery cost index 95.1, housing cost index 70.2, transportation cost index 92.3. New Mexico, actually, I heard New Mexico is a beautiful state. I'm a desert kind of guy. I actually can't wait to at least visit Albuquerque. Even though I know they say, crime rate and poverty in New Mexico is pretty bad. Cost of living index 89.6, grocery cost index 99.0, housing cost index 80.4, transportation cost index 93.0. And it's always a gift and a curse because, like I said, when you get away from the major cities, and that's what I said, I even think about these states, these are perfect states for people to retire in. Don't get me wrong, but when it comes to young people going out there making a great living, I think if you have the right skill set, especially in a place like, if you think of major cities like Indianapolis, which is it's becoming a gentrified city, like I said, Nashville, Tennessee. If you look at, Atlanta, Georgia, when I think of these states, Birmingham, Alabama, but when it really costs, the more rural states have always been the cheapest places to live in America. And that's the same thing if you're thinking about living in Texas or any of these other states that I mentioned, because you notice how Texas is not on this list right now. Florida's not on this list when it comes to affordable states. So that's just a crazy thing to take into consideration, because those are the number 2 states. Now Georgia, like I said, give it a couple of years, and Georgia, I guarantee, will not be on this list because more and more places are becoming gentrified away from Atlanta. Because since Atlanta's become completely gentrified, now everything, now all the other major cities in Georgia is going to take heat. Indiana, cost of living index 90.4, grocery cost index 92.3, housing cost index 76.5, and transportation cost index 99.4. Iowa, cost living index 83.7, grocery cost index 94.4, cost living, housing cost index 61.1, and transportation cost index 70.4. Kentucky, last but not least, cost living index 83.6, grocery cost index 94.2, housing cost index 63.3, transportation cost index 89.1. And I know that certain major cities in Kentucky are actually doing pretty good for the most part economically, but when you're thinking about these places, it's the places that, like, my buddy lives in Kentucky. He's about 40 minutes to an hour away from Louisville, Kentucky. So he lives out in the country. So it's going to be, it's going to be more and more normal for your everyday working people that are not thinking about money outside of having a job box. They're going to have to live in smaller towns. And I'm not knocking anybody living in a small town, but if you're a person that does not want to live in a small town and you do like the excitement of the city, then you're either going to get used to taking long road trips, one, or two, you're going to have to get your money right in a specific manner, in a specific way. So these are the things that I just wanted to go over, and it's just to prepare you. It's like, if you see the neighborhood that's behind me, this is a neighborhood in Las Vegas. That's Las Vegas behind me. I love the mountains. I love palm trees. I'm a desert kind of guy. So this is my dream neighborhood I want to live in eventually. But when I think of these states, I got nothing against them. A lot of people like being in Mississippi and Alabama. Like, a lot of people love being in Iowa and Indiana and Kansas and whatnot, and Missouri. My mindset is you have to be happy with the area that you live in when you walk outside the house every day. You're the one that has to be excited about your life when you wake up every day. I can't make that decision for you. So let me know if you have any other states on your list that you think that should have been on this list of the 12 most affordable states in the United States of America. I'm surprised that the Dakotas weren't on there because, they're deemed affordable. They're not overpriced or anything of that nature. But, like I said, New Mexico, is deemed affordable and hasn't been. You don't hear about Santa Fe or Albuquerque being gentrified. When you think of that part of the country, like their neighbor, Arizona and Colorado, those states are being gentrified, but that's another story for another day, especially the major cities there. So like Denver, and you think of Phoenix, Arizona. So, and I know do the great different things, like share and subscribe. Have a great day. As I always say, make money moves, or you're going to live like a fool.